Hey guys, it's the Plant Doctor here at the beautiful park on Main in downtown Boaz. They have music playing in the park. I'm hoping in this video that you hear me more than you do the music. But what I want to talk to you about today is it is extremely hot here where I'm at in North Alabama. We've got a heat advisory today. Some areas had it yesterday. Pretty much every day for the next 7 to 10 days, we're going to have a heat advisory. So I want to talk about how we're going to take care of our plants here in terms of the heat for the next couple weeks. So let's take a look at some things. The first thing I want to talk about is mulch. Okay, so here we have some pine straw, decomposed leaves, anything to cover up the ground or the topsoil layer. What's that going to do for us? It does a couple things. It aids in moisture retention. So when you water, it's going to hold more water. It's not going to evaporate out to the atmosphere quite as fast. Another thing it's going to do for us is it's going to keep the roots cool. In this example here, coleus is going to keep our roots cool regardless of the plant. If it's azaleas or trees or whatever, we want to keep those roots as cool as possible. So when we put mulch down, we're aiding in moisture retention and we're helping keeping those roots cool as well. So make sure you've got some mulch down over the root zone of your plants. The next thing I want to talk about is planters here. There's one here, there's one behind me, there's 4 on this crosswalk here. And when you water your planters this time of year, I want to encourage you to water sloppy or messy. So what do I mean by that? Water the top of your plants, let the water get in the root, down into the root zone, but also hit the sides of these pots with water as well. Hit the base of the pots with water. We're right here, I've got concrete, I've got asphalt. It gets hot right here, and you may have a patio or a porch that's in the same situation here. So what I would encourage you to do is this: as you're watering, let that water hit the sides of the pot, let it hit your patio, the concrete, whatever it's on, and then evaporative cooling. So throughout the day, that water is going to evaporate, and your pots, the outside of your pots, are not going to get near as hot. That's almost hot to the touch right now. It's 10:30 in the morning here. We're already like 88 degrees, and this is in sun, and that's hot. That's probably at least 110 degrees. It's going to get hotter. So that's going to dry out these roots in this pot really, really fast. So if anything we can do to combat some of that evaporation out of the soil, we need to do. And one of the things we can do here is actually water the outside of the pot, water the ground around it, the hardscape, the concrete, whatever it's on, and that's going to help us with our plants. So another way that we can help preserve our landscape is the use of these understory plants, or planting in tiers, and this is going to help preserve water. Perhaps the worst way to plant a tree, and what we see here are Yoshino cherries, is just to plant it in the grass. So if it's in the grass, you're constantly scalping those roots with a mower, you're going to stress your trees. The next best thing is to have a tree ring or a bed around it with some mulch. In my opinion, the best thing to do is to have all 3 of these. These are in a bed. We have pine straw for our mulch, and then we have understory plants. And so all of these work together to help keep the ground temperature cooler. We get the shade from the trees, and we're going to be able to keep these plants much healthier than they would otherwise being here by themselves. So if you think about a woodland setting, you never just see a random tree in the woods, right? So you're going to have your big overstory trees like your oaks, and then you're going to have your smaller understory trees, say like a dogwood, and then you're going to have your grasses or flowers or vines on the ground, and they all work together to help retain moisture in the ground so that these plants can survive these long, hot summers that we have here in North Alabama. Be aware of microclimates in your yard. So this wall right here that I'm on faces due south. So the sun rises over here in the east off my left-hand shoulder, tracks behind the camera, sets over here. This area gets sun all day. This area will be much, much hotter than on the other side of the house, the north facing end. So if I were to put a thermometer here out in the sun, it would easily hit 120, 130 because it's got that direct sunlight on it. And so put plants in here that are appropriate for those microclimates. And what I have here, so I've got 2 lime trees. These are just experimental. I just want to see how they're going to do. I have them in a pot. I can bring them in on the porch during the winter. And then I've got some red verbenas down here. We've got some black-eyed Susans over here. Things that can survive very intense heat. So this is an area where if you have a plant that's marginal for winter hardiness, so I'm right on the line between zone 7B and 8A, I would plant it here, but this time of year in the summer, I may have to do a supplemental water on it because it is getting so hot. Okay, so I would put that plant in a protected area like this. It keeps it, when the cold fronts come from the north, this wall shelters them, and plus this brick holds heat. It's actually hot to the touch, even though it's in the shade right now from the eave of the house. But this is a microclimate. Be aware of microclimates in and around your yard. What areas in your yard will get hotter than other areas of the yard? Typically, it's going to be that south-facing wall of your house that'll get much hotter than any other of the 4 sides, or the 3 remaining sides of your house. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is really the most important thing. It's you. Okay, so we've gone around and we've looked at different scenarios in Boaz, in a very urban environment with lots of asphalt. We've looked at more residential environments, but none of that matters if we're not taking care of ourselves. So when you're out doing this, out watering, taking care of your plants, I want you to wear a hat, something like this. If you're going to be outside for more than 30 minutes, put on some sunscreen. Have a drink, and I'm not talking about anything that's caffeinated or anything with alcohol in it. You need water or some sort of sports drink like a Gatorade or Powerade or something like that. Stay hydrated. Know your signs for heat exhaustion and heat stroke. If you're getting lightheaded, you're seeing spots, go inside. It's too hot, okay? If you get chill bumps, you stop sweating, go inside. Those are signs of heat exhaustion. And if you get nauseous at your stomach, any of those things, go inside, cool off, okay? I don't want your gardening endeavors to be for naught because you push too hard in this heat. I care about each and every one of you, and I just want that to be abundantly clear. Know the warning signs that you've been out in the heat too long. One more thing I want to add to this is know when to water. When to water is going to be really when you can get around to it at the end of the day. Just when you can water, do it. But the best time to water is going to be very early morning. We don't want to water late in the evening because we have moisture on top of the leaf surface, and that's going to introduce the possibility of getting things like powdery mildew and black spot and stuff like that. If you can water right as the sun's coming up, that's really the best, because that water is going to have time to soak into the ground before it evaporates off the ground. and then once the sun gets up, it'll evaporate any residual water off the leaf surface itself. So we're not eliminating, but reducing the probability of a fungal pathogen growing on our leaves.